Hey guys, it's been long overdue, but I wanted to talk about somebody was talking to me about this the other day, and they brought up the Ohio State Fair and how it's changed in the past few years. And I wanted to talk about what I was doing the day that the fireball incident happened. Now, that was on Wednesday, July 26, 2017. And that day, I had to work overnight. So I worked from midnight that morning until about 9 a.m. I worked over an extra hour. And I wasn't planning on going to the fair that day because I was way too damn tired to be trying to go anywhere. And I went home, or I came home rather, and I laid down, went to sleep, woke up at about noon, and for some reason I was just like, I'm just gonna go to the fair anyway. I didn't really have the money to go, so I went to the store that I work at. I work at Kroger, and my friend was there, and I tried to ask him for about $25 till the next day, because that was during the time I was still kind of having financial problems. And he said he didn't have the money. I wanted the money so I could buy a wristband at the fair, and I ended up basically leaving. I was determined to go to the fair anyway, even though it meant I wasn't really going to go on any rides. I was just going to go and walk around. So I didn't have a car at this time either. So uh, I walked to about where the bus stop was, and I just I had this feeling, and I looked in my wallet, and I didn't have enough money to get on the bus. I had to make change to get on the bus because all I had was 20s or something. And I went to the carryout because there's a carryout across from where the bus stop was. And I just had this weird feeling going in there. And while I was getting the change, I said to myself, if the bus was still at Wendy's when I came out of the carryout, I would go to the fair. If not, I would go to Wendy's, get lunch, and go home. So I came out after getting the change, and the bus was starting to take off. It was already headed down West Broad Street. So I was like, well, I'll just go to Wendy's, get myself a couple of cheap hamburgers or something, and go home. But when I got home probably, I'm not even sure at this point, probably closer to 1 p.m. And I just had this strange feeling like all day. And I basically just laid here in my bed, didn't really do much of anything. I think I watched YouTube for a little bit, and I just kept having this weird, persistent feeling of dread, like something really bad was about to happen. So a couple hours passed. It got to be about 6 p.m., and I finally decided to get up from laying down. I think I was cleaning my room or something, and it got to be about 7:25, 7:30, and my friend texted me saying that a ride broke down at the state fair. She didn't say anything else that happened. She just said it broke down. So I'm like, that is that what I was thinking was gonna happen? And another another 15 minutes passes by, 15, 20 minutes, and my friend posted something on Facebook. It showed the fireball ride up in the air, and it was swinging down, and you just see the seat break right off, and you see people being thrown out, and you see the rest of the gondola just falling to the ground. I'm like, what the hell is going on? And then that's when the news report came out, and they said that one person died and several others got injured. And I couldn't believe it because that was the first really major incident I could think of with the state fair since 2002 when the remix broke and injured those two men on it. I'm just sitting here in disbelief because I felt that something bad was gonna happen, but I didn't know what. And if I had gone to the fair that day, I probably would have witnessed it too. And I did end up going to that fair like 4 times because the first time I went was a couple of days the after the whole thing happened, and they had the Midway cordoned off, like the main Mountain Dew. I think it's called the Mountain Dew Midway back then. They had it cordoned off on one side, and then by where the Ferris wheel and stuff is on the other side, it was cordoned off, and they had security guards walking all around making sure nobody was getting on the Midway. So people would just come in the gate and just walk around and go back towards where like the butter cow and stuff is. And I remember I waited that day because they opened the kiddie rides up, and I went on a couple of rides. I think I went on Mini Himalaya and Wacky Worm or something, and I was just waiting for the big rides to open because there was a rumor saying that they were going to open the big rides that day, but they never did. I'd say they're probably 7 hours waiting for them to open. And by where the Fireball was, they had trailers set up all around it. It was like these 3 big trailers, and people kept trying to climb under the trailers to get pictures of the ride. And another thing I had noticed was there was an alien abduction right next to it, which is basically just a gravitron. And they took that ride down and put a trailer there to block the Fireball. And they took the Ring of Fire that was next to, it was like across from where the Rock and Roll ride was. They took it down, took it out of the whole fair, and then just put the alien abduction right there. And I believe I came back to the fair again like the next day or the day after that. And by this time they had opened the Midway, but the Midway is basically dead. And they not only had the trailers around the Fireball this time, but they had wooden pallets laying on the inside of the trailers so that people would be discouraged from trying to climb under the trailers like they were doing a couple of days before. And they had probably 3 or 4 different security guards over there, uh, like watching, making sure people didn't climb under the trailers and things like that. But some people were still able to get pictures, but it wasn't that bad. But all the rides were walk-ons that year. Because I ended up going to that fair 4 times, and even the Crazy Mouse roller coaster didn't really have a line. So I also kind of want to talk about how the 2018 fair was, because they brought back Amusements of America, but they didn't really have much of anything noteworthy there. They basically replaced the Fireball with Straight Show's Rockstar ride. They brought that in, and they brought in Straight's Skyflyer, I think it was. And that fair was just really disappointing. And I remember they had like a big empty space across from Polar Express, because I went there on the first day, 2018, and I guess they had poor Jack bring their Black Widow ride in or something, so they put that there on the second day, and people were all over the place the first day of the 2018 fair. It was crazy. They got a late start, of course, like they always do, and they were when they have like all these rides and food stands and things set up, they cement the wires and hoses and things down so people don't trip over them. And they did the Mountain Dew midway first, even though there wasn't a lot of people on that midway yet. So the reason I'm bringing this up is because of what happened to me when I went to go check on the pig races. Because the pig race venue was all the way on the kiddie midway. So I was walking around over there and I had just gotten off the Wacky Worm. Because I go on the Wacky Worm every year. I love that ride. But I was walking and I heard somebody yelling or something. So I looked over to see what was going on. And before I knew it, I fell down on my knee, busted my knee wide open. And it was because they didn't cement the wires and things down. So I had this big ass bruise on my knee and it was bleeding and stuff. So I decided I was going to just leave that day. And some of the rides weren't running that day either. Like Rock and Roll wasn't running and Typhoon wasn't running. Typhoon was on the other side of the fair, but that fair is just a mess. I like how Tally Amusement set up the fair last year, but they got a late start too. So the fair is supposed to open at 11, like the midway was, but they didn't open until closer at 12. The people selling the tickets took a while to get to the ticket booth to ring people out. And I was really impressed for the most part with how the midway was set up. They had a few duplicate rides, like they had two Chance Thunderbolt rides, 2 Zero Gravities, 2 Tilt-A-Whirls, stuff like that. But they didn't set the rides up in an oval formation like Amusements of America did. And I like that because you could just, there was a split right in the middle of the midway where you could just, if you wanted to go to the other side of the midway easily, you could. And they had quite a few brand new rides there, or rides that got refurbished to look brand new. Like they had a brand new Downdraft from Bat Tech. That was pretty cool. That was the first thing that I went on. And they had a refurbished Orbiter ride, which is kind of strange because most Orbiter rides they like go up first and then start spinning slowly, and then once the ride picks up speed, then the arms go out and the ride does its thing. But this one, it goes up a little bit, and this is another thing. This Orbiter had what I want to call crotch guards on it, basically in the front of the seat. And I was thinking to myself, why does this ride have these on it? It doesn't make any sense. So then when I saw what it was doing, that's when I was like, oh yeah, it needs those. Because it goes up and then the arms go out and then it starts spinning. And it spins real slow at first and then it picks up speed. I'm like, yeah, it needs those because people will be sliding out of those seats left and right on that ride. They had this giant Ferris wheel. I don't remember how tall it was. I want to say between 100, I think it was 110 feet tall. I went on that once, and they had some rides I've never seen there before or ever seen ever in my life, like the Wisdom Storm ride, and I have a video of that on my channel. And they had like Super Sizzler and there's all sorts of crazy rides there. But the first day of that fair was pretty decent, but some of the rides weren't open, and some other people that went to the fair that day noted that too. One of them was Space Roller. Space Roller got tested, like the arm would spin around, but the gondola wouldn't, and that was because one of the motors on the underside of the gondola was broke, so they had to fix that before he could open the ride. Iron Dragon, the roller coaster, wasn't open for some reason. I don't know why. Matterhorn wasn't open, and Big Kahuna was open for like the first 5 or 6 hours, but it was making strange noises, so they closed it. Because I noticed the noises when I went on it earlier in the day. It was making clanging noises and stuff when it would go when my seat would go around the back, and they had a Ring of Fire ride called Drogon that was closed all day. Wave Swinger was closed. A Super Sizzler was closed because they had to put plastic mesh around the fencing so that it was compliant or whatever. And when I got there, they were still setting up Sea Ray, so Sea Ray wasn't open all day until almost dark. When I got there, they were installing the lap bars and things on it. It had like 5 people working on that ride. I was kind of surprised to see that. But yeah, that was a fun fair. I used probably 48 boarding passes that day. That's what you had to use to get on the rides. You pay the $25, get a wristband, and they give you these little tickets called boarding passes, and you use one every time you get on a ride. So I thought that was kind of weird because I bought my wristband, right, and I went over to Downdraft to try to go on it, and the guy couldn't really speak English, so he had to go up to somebody else to tell him what was going on, and the guy told me a wristband wasn't good enough to get on the ride. I'm like, I just spent $25 on a wristband. So how is that not good enough to get on the ride? And then when I went to the ticket booth to complain, the woman just gave me all these tickets. I'm like, what the hell am I supposed to do with these? I just bought a wristband. And then I figured out that you're supposed to give one to the person that's running the ride so you can get on the ride, and that you could get as many of them as you wanted. So I had to get used to that. And it was kind of strange because they had like 4. I'm gonna have to think about how many. I think it was like 5 different amusement companies. Because they had Tally Amusements there. Skirbeck brought their toboggan. Primetime had some rides like Kite Flyer, Super Sizzler, Zero Gravity, stuff like that. Was it Kissel Entertainment? I think it was Kissel Entertainment, and then Straits brought their Rockstar again. So we had a lot of different companies at this fair again, like we did in 2018. And I want to see a couple different rides there this year. Like I want Primetime to bring their Spinatron ride, and I want to see Tally bring Scorpion to the event too. I want to see a real music ride come to the fair. I don't like that Silver Streak ride. they they should just do away with that. And then other than that, I got the IX Indoor Amusement Park coming up that I want to go to. I'm probably going to go there twice again, like last year. I have a lot of plans as to where to go this year. I want to go to Lexington Lions Club Fair, I think it's called. The one they have every June in Kentucky. Kentucky Kingdom Amusement Park. Want to try to go back to Kennywood again. Basically go to almost every fair that I've been to this year, plus some others. So, also gonna try to visit more arcades and game stores and things and get footage of those too. Because I love all that type of stuff. Like I have an extensive game collection here, so kind of hard to see it. But that's not even all of them. I have the rest of them packed up because I have nowhere to put them. I'm probably gonna do more game reviews and things too. So just be on the lookout for that. And I guess that's all I have to say. See you guys later.